So, we're talking about Akademiks. Complex recently named him the most powerful person in hip-hop media, and honestly, that title is hard to argue with. The man has genuinely put in the work. He eats, breathes, and sleeps this culture. Reporting on it, analyzing it, shaping conversations around it, that's not an accident, that's consistency. Now, if we're ranking the rest of the list, I'd put Vlad at number 2, Charlemagne at 3, and Joe Budden after that. Here's why. Vlad and Akademiks are both independent operators and their audiences are deeply engaged. Joe Budden, on the other hand, has a lot of relationships in the industry, and sometimes that makes it hard to know whether his opinions are fully his own. As for Ebro, he shouldn't even be in the conversation. He's not moving the needle the way these other guys are. As for Akademiks himself, he says he never expected to reclaim the #1 spot after the first time, but here he is. And with the Iceman project on the horizon, the anticipation is already building. Hopefully Drake takes the opportunity to sit down with him this time around. If Drake is smart, he will. Because fans don't want a casual streamer interview full of inside jokes and surface-level questions. They want a real conversation. Someone who actually knows the music, the history, and the moments that defined his career. We need answers, not entertainment. There's a difference. Moving on, Stefan Dogg was found not guilty. Now, to be clear on the details here, Mila Adams is the chef who worked for him, not the hairstylist. The hairstylist actually took the stand and testified that Mila Adams had been building a case against Diggs for allegedly not paying her and physically putting his hands on her. But the hairstylist said she never came to her and told her any of that directly. She simply said she had been let go without receiving what she was owed. And during the trial, the defense was actually able to demonstrate that she had in fact been paid. The jury ultimately came back with a not guilty verdict on the criminal charges, which centered around allegations of physical assault. Diggs was visibly emotional after the verdict. He clearly understood what was at stake. And whatever you think about the situation, it was not a cheap outcome to defend. That legal battle cost him significantly. Now, the game has been trolling 50 Cent. We've already covered that. But what's interesting is that Drake has apparently been flying him around. First New York, now reportedly Toronto. And look, let's be real, the game is not in a financial position right now to be booking private jets on his own dime, not with the outstanding judgments against him, money owed to a woman who took him to court, plus a cannabis company he reportedly stiffed. Those debts are real. So either Drake is covering the tab or some of these photos might be older than they appear. Either way, the game stirring the pot with 50 Cent again is nothing new. It's a pattern at this point. Young Miami is out here saying her album has 0 skips and she's genuinely excited about it. And look, that kind of confidence is fine, but the streaming numbers tell a different story. Her songs aren't charting. The plays aren't adding up. Meanwhile, JT, her former City Girls partner, is sitting at around 67 million monthly listeners, while Young Miami is hovering around 400,000. That gap is significant. She made choices to go a different direction, and those choices have consequences in the music space. She's talented, she's got the look, she's got the personality, but the numbers are what they are right now. Finally, Finesse2Tymes shared his Atlantic Records deal publicly. Well, most of it. He put out about 8 pages of what appears to be a 12-page contract, and that actually brings up an important point for any artist navigating label deals. If someone hands you a 12 to 20-page contract, you have every right to ask them to boil it down to a 1-pager covering the core terms. It happened firsthand in a Sony distribution deal for the infamous Mob project years ago. They came with 20 pages. The ask was simple: let's simplify this. And they did, because they wanted the deal done. If the other party is serious, they'll work with you. Remember that. There's a lot packed into what Finesse shared, though. Let's break down exactly what's in it. Here's what he said first, and then we'll walk through the key points.
Man, look. I see a whole lot of motherfuckers laughing at a nigga. And it's cool, laugh at it. That shit ain't nothing but motivation for me. I ain't gonna lie. I'm a hustler, man.
He gotta change his battery with his fire alarm.
I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, man. The position...
Just because you're from Memphis doesn't mean you're a hustler. Let's be real about that, too.
I'm in right now, that's all I ever needed anyway. I ain't never think I was gonna be worth no $1 million, no way, my nigga. I'ma be real. So even for me to be able to go make me $40, $50, $60, $70,000 a week, that's a blessing to me, homie. I start over. I get my shit together. But what I want to do is, what my message is, I want to just be a mascot for all the up-and-coming artists who want to walk in these rooms and walk in these labels and think just because you surrounded with people. And so this the Atlantic.
Now, Finesse actually cut his own video short before getting through the whole thing. But regardless, the contract he shared tells enough of the story on its own. If you want to read through it yourself, he posted it on his Instagram page. So here's the breakdown. On the surface, it looks like a standard recording contract, but the details are where things get problematic. First, Atlantic has exclusive rights to his music, and this isn't a short-term arrangement. The deal includes multiple optional extension periods, meaning the label has the ability to keep him locked in for a significant stretch of time. The label also owns the masters, so Finesse2Tymes does not own his own recordings. On top of that, the recoupment structure means he won't see a single dollar in royalties until the label recoups their investment first. They're also requiring a 7-track EP on top of full albums. But here's where the real power imbalance shows up. The label has final say over everything: mixes, artwork, release timing, all of it. They can reject recordings outright and hold up a release indefinitely. The artist is required to deliver, but the label controls when and whether that work ever actually comes out. The options in the contract heavily favor Atlantic, not Finesse. There's also a clause giving the label rights to his pre-deal recordings, which is a major problem. Music you created before signing should stay yours, especially as your profile grows. Those recordings become more valuable over time, and handing that over essentially means they profit from work that had nothing to do with them. And then there's the 360 deal element, which honestly should never have been on the table. Finesse was already generating real momentum when he signed this. He didn't need to agree to a 360 structure, which means the label, through a company called Mobies, now takes a cut of recordings, merchandise, and virtually every other revenue stream. They also have rights to his name and likeness. At that point, you're not just signing a music deal, you're signing over a significant piece of your entire brand. And perhaps the most damaging part of all, there's essentially no clear exit clause. This deal is long-term, with very little room to maneuver out of it. The $1 million advance sounds good on paper, but when you stack it against everything he gave up, the math doesn't work in his favor. He went into this without proper legal representation, and it shows in nearly every clause. To make matters worse, instead of handling his frustrations with the label privately, he took it public, and now it's become an ego standoff. Labels don't lose those battles. That approach was always going to put him at a disadvantage. He did run the contract through ChatGPT and got some feedback from it, which is interesting, but what he really needs is an experienced entertainment attorney who can find a legitimate path out of this situation. One potential route? Taking a page out of 2 Chainz' playbook. Before he became 2 Chainz, he was going by Titty Boy and was signed to Ludacris's DTP label. Changing his name, combined with some behind-the-scenes legal maneuvering, helped him eventually break free from that deal and relaunch his career. It's not a perfect solution, but sometimes rebranding is the most practical way forward when you're legally boxed in.